Music. Hello, person. Welcome to this place. It gives me great pleasure tonight to introduce you to Roger Inniss.
Hi.
Bass player extraordinaire. Can't quite believe been lucky enough to get him in the studio tonight, but he's here. He's armed with a 6-string bass, which is unbelievable. So how you doing, Roger?
I'm doing very well, thank you,
Nice
Mark.
to see you. I'll call you Rog.
Yeah, thank you
Or
very
Roger.
much. Yeah, no, Roger's great, and thanks for asking me. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, it's really nice to have you. So just give us a quick kind of bit of a info about yourself, bit of a backstory. You're a bassist.
I'm a bassist. I've been professional since 1984, so that's 30-something years. It's nearly 40 years, isn't it?
That's unbelievable,
It's
yeah.
nearly 40 years as a professional. When I say professional, I mean earning a living, paying taxes and stuff like that. So,
amazing.
which is hard. When you look at me, you can see that I'm only about 26 years old. So
Yeah, you absolutely don't look it.
But I started off playing in church, as you do, as a young guy. My parents would send me to church to get me out of the house on a Sunday, sitting around at one of these gospel churches all day long. I mean, when I say all day, you go at 10 o'clock in the morning and leave at 6 o'clock in the evening to come home, or 7. So I was bored, nothing to do, and sort of just picked up a guitar as a sort of light relief. Big advantage of doing that, having that sort of education, that sort of bringing up, was the fact that then people would start singing songs in church. And as a musician in the church, playing for the church, they start singing the song, you're there to accompany them. You don't know what the song is, you don't know what the key is, you don't know where it's going to go. And you and 3 other people or 4 other people will try and find a general common ground. You know what I mean? Sometimes they sing in between keys, so you've got to decide, do I take it up or do I take it down? You know what I mean? And all those sort of things. But that was a great education.
I bet it
doing
was.
that.
I bet it was.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah, and you were telling me before we came on air about this 6-string bass.
Oh yes, yeah.
That you've had since when? 2000?
2000. This one I had made for me.
Yeah.
By a guy called John Shuker in Sheffield in 2000. I've got 3 other basses made by him. The other 2 are a brother and sister, exactly the same, but one is fretted and one is fretless. All 6-string basses
as well.
Yeah, and that was made for me in 1998.
Wow.
A couple of years before this one, and then the one before that is how I ended up playing his basses, because I was using John Diggins' basses at the time, and I wanted to put a MIDI pickup in it so that I could use it with the synth, but I didn't want to drill any holes in the instrument that I'd got. So I was looking around for another instrument. I found this Shuker bass, liked it, bought the first one, and I said that I wanted to have a fretless to match it, and he said it's easier to build 2 instruments from scratch than it is to try and match one. So I kept the one. He built me 2 others. They were great basses, but they were a little bit dark sounding, and I wanted something a bit brighter, so he built me this, and this has been my number 1 instrument from then till now.
Amazing. And so for those that play 4-string basses, just talk us through the strings as well. What's the difference here?
A normal 4-string bass is in the middle, E, A, D, and G. And then this bass has got a B below E and a C above G.
And a C.
C, yeah. And the advantage with that is that it always behaves like a bass. Every scale that you know as a bass player, you've got exactly the same positioning, exactly the same thing. You just have a range. You just have a...
Yeah. So if I had to go on that, I'd be completely thrown, because we're used to a B, right?
Yes, yeah.
So it'd be kind of one. I'd have to go one lower, but you have, I guess, symmetry all the way.
So
kind of roots, fifths, octaves.
Everything. It is always the same.
Yeah.
There's no, you don't have to think about it. You don't have to change. So theoretically, from going from 4-string bass to 5-string bass and 6-string bass and 7-string, because they do the same thing with the 7-string, they just add a high F at the top, and so it always behaves the same.
So interesting. So I mean, if you were playing a song in the key of E,
Yeah.
in some sense, kind of guitars maybe are in the key of E, it's the
Yeah.
lowest.
Yeah.
How would you incorporate the low B into that? I mean, you've got a kind of
Well,
fifth below.
Yeah,
and...
two ways. First of all, you've got just that. If so, superstition. Right.
Yeah.
But I've got it.
Right. Go right down. And how often do you hit that low B?
All the
Depends
time.
on the key,
Yeah,
the song.
it depends on all the time. I use it as a gear shift when I'm playing. For instance, if I'm playing something in G, and I want it
I see. Yeah.
to come underneath the root and then lift you up to it. So I use it as a way of getting underneath the music and bringing it up to pitch. Is how I tend to use it. Yeah.
And I suppose it lends itself G. It's good because it's kind of got that low.
Yeah. But it's great in all the keys. Sometimes if you're playing something in D,
Interesting.
you just add that lower, just like a lower note, just to give it a little bit of sustenance. Really, that's what I think. That's how I think about it.
Yeah, really good. Brilliant. So I think we should get a bit nerdy and technical about a few things, shall we?
Okay, yeah, sure.
So I was thinking, we have bass guitarists on the course, of course, and probably kind of tend to start off in minor, major pentatonic places.
Yeah.
Do a lot of roots, octaves, fifths. So I think it'd be interesting to just kind of explore how we kind of can get out of that and introduce more and more colours and tones to a given groove, I suppose. So
I suppose the two things that I would think about or talk to somebody about is, first of all, their knowledge of modes.
Yeah.
Your ability. All a mode is a scale played from every other degree. So in C major, C scale, right, you play exactly the same notes but start from D. Exactly the same note but start with E. And so forth and so forth. But what it does is it enables you to move up, in this case with guitar and bass, to move up the fingerboard. So instead of being stuck in one place, you're able to move around, and that in itself helps to give you a facility and a way of moving. So pentatonic, all the time I'm thinking about the fact that instead of it being stuck, I can move around. And then a simple thing like we talked about very briefly about using the wrong notes. A simple thing like
kind of flat seven thing going on. So what are you thinking when you were playing that right then?
About the blues, about a blues you feel.
Yeah. What we in then C?
Yeah. I can change the
So
yeah.
No, C is great. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So if we were playing a kind of groove in C, a kind of if I play that.
The reason that this is kind of doesn't work so well is because we're playing C minor, and we should be thinking about C, aren't we?
Yeah, I'm kind of being ambiguous and yeah, kind of C.
Yeah, but if we made it
So if we were playing a groove in C7, would we
Yeah.
be thinking? Would your brain go F major?
no, I would if it was no, I would still be thinking in C.
Thinking in C,
I would be thinking in C.
even if it was a seventh.
Even with the seventh, yeah. But
Okay.
I would be just thinking of that, adding that 1 degree, which is the flat seventh.
Yeah, absolutely.
Major scale, but
Yeah.
with a flat seventh in it.
And so, okay, if I was to play just a C7 chord,
Yeah.
maybe it could be useful to run through like some 1 3 5 7 9 arpeggios through
Yeah.
that,
Yeah,
whilst
yeah.
I just strum sort of
Yeah.
boringly,
Yeah.
which I suppose would all derive from the key of F major. Would you think of it that way?
I wouldn't.
Or you wouldn't?
I
you just,
wouldn't. I wouldn't think of F. I wouldn't start thinking about F.
Yeah, you just think C7.
I think about C7. Yeah.
Okay. So if I just play a kind of. If you were to go up the fretboard playing C, D something,
Yeah.
E something, F something,
Yeah.
could you do that?
I
Could you
could do
just
that, yeah,
demonstrate that all
yeah.
the way back up to maybe like a B minor,
Yeah, yeah.
flat 5 or whatever, whatever it's going to be?
Yeah.
And then we can try and make sense of that as well.
Okay.
So.
Oh, I missed it. So with this, I'm not stuck to playing in one place. Even though it's the same notes, I'm not adding any different notes than the notes that are in the scale. But moving up the fingerboard
Yeah,
means
there's natural 7 in there as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
Yeah, really interesting. It's kind of hard for me to look at because you've got the strings either
Yeah,
side that
yeah.
are sort of foreign.
Yeah, I could get.
I
I've got a
can-
4 string with me. I can get it out.
Yeah,
and-
no, it's fine. No, it's,
yeah.
it's really cool.
So
to
the-
see the 6 string.
Yeah. So the thought is that basically I'm in moving up the fingerboard. I'm trying to give myself access to more notes. So this, if I stay there, this is quite limited. But if I go, all of a sudden, right? This is a deep. That's Dorian mode. So I've got C there. Yeah. All of a sudden, I've got access to. Any finger that I choose in that Dorian mode, I've got a different note, access to a different note than I would in an Ionian position.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the other thing that we start off learning is the kind of maybe like the 5 shapes,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
cage
yeah, yeah.
thing. So how does that relate to what you were just doing there? Do you ever think about those kind of, the C shape there, the C shape there? Do you think of it in that way? The sort of major pentatonic kind of
I think of the pentatonic scale, but I don't think of it as a box. I don't think of it. I don't know if this is helping under.
No, you're saying the right things.
I don't think of it as a box. I think what I'm trying to do is relate all the notes all the time. So that's the pentatonic. But I could go up, but then coming backwards in that position there, I'd go. And then going forward. Pentatonic.
Yeah.
Right. But it's when you're moving around, isn't it?
So when you used to practice many years ago, because it must be just completely, in your DNA now, did you practice those shapes in one sense, but also going up and down? Tell us a bit about kind of practicing up and down the neck, because I think that's something that really helps guitarists, like what you've been doing, really.
Yeah, I suppose the thing that was very useful to me was to try and make it musical was getting out a copy of the real book. I suppose nowadays it's like iReal book.
Yeah.
Choose any song, and before you start trying to think about creating a walking bass line, play the scale for the chord. So the advantage with the modal system as well also is it teaches you major scales, minor scales, seventh scales, diminished scales, and alter scales, because each one of those is a degree of that, isn't it? I mean,
it is, yeah. I think when I first started, I just kind of thought in those shapes.
Yeah.
Major pentatonic, minor pentatonic, and then all the kind of other darker colours I just now see in relation to that.
Yes, exactly. Well, the thing about it is being a bit boring and trying to condense it. So an Ionian mode is a major scale. But a Dorian mode is a minor 7 scale, isn't it? Right. A Frisian mode is a minor 7 flat 9 scale.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. A Lydian is a augmented scale, basically. Sharp 4, right, all right. Mixed Lydian is a dominant 7 scale.
Yeah.
Right. An Aeolian is a minor scale. A Locrian is a half diminished scale, right? And then we're back to the major. So if you then pick a piece of music like All of Me or any of those jazz standards, you'll see those scales in there. You'll see those chords, in there. And so before you can create a walking bass line, you've got to know what those scales are. And then the trick is to play them all over the fingerboard so that you know. That was the practice that I did. That's what helped to solidify that. So you know what I mean, the minor scale, right? You know it two ways. You know it playing from your fourth finger. So you've learnt as a walking bass line that kind of idea where you can see where all the scales are. But the thing is, you look at the chord, you look at a G7, you play first of all, you play the scale, then the arpeggio, but without so just up to the octave. Right, and then you you try and incorporate. So if you have a chord that is 1 bar long, you play the arpeggio. But if you have a chord that's 2 bars long, you play the scale.
Okay,
Right.
that's really interesting.
So that you've got that time, or even just a simple blues. It'd be easy to do.
Let's do a blues.
A simple blues.
Yeah. Let's think about simple blues.
Yeah, and if we do it in C,
Okay.
so that there's no sharps, people don't have to think about sharps or flat, right? So, yeah.
And let's just kind of explore how we can add in like the 7 and the 9, and where does the 6, that natural 6, fall into that blues? Because I think those are the kind of interesting notes that get you out that pentatonic as well.
Okay, yeah. But are you talking about adding those notes as part of the bass line or as part of the solo?
I suppose I'm thinking of you as a bassist soloing.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
Because
Great.
in the classic role as a bassist in a blues, you'd plonk along.
Yeah.
So if, in some sense, if I do that, it would be great to see how you would venture out of what I could just play, which is the pentatonic. 1, 3, 5, 7.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And I would go. It's a 6.
Yeah.
Root. Major 7. Back to the root.
Then, where does it go after that?
Well, at the moment, all I'm doing is playing around the changes. All I'm doing is playing motifs. I'm playing in the key of C major. That's the 3rd there.
Mid 3rd, low 3rd, yeah.
Flat 7.
Yeah.
Right, then that's the 3rd of the F chord. Right, to highlight the F. 3rd of the C chord, highlighting the C. Then I'm back to the G, back to the F, C, turn around. 3rd, 4th. Right, that's the 5th of the C. And all the time I'm still in the key of C. I haven't moved out of the key. I haven't moved away from the key of C. I've just picked notes from the key of C to settle on. And then when it changes to the F chord in the blues, I've tried. Yeah, I started out with the third, but you can choose any.
Because that's like the sixth, isn't it? Of
Yeah.
being in
Yeah,
C.
yeah,
as it were.
exactly,
You just-
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, and I think that's when you kind of start. You know it's coming naturally because you see those colours in either in C or in F.
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of thing.
exactly. Yes, yeah, yeah,
And then it kind of just all seems like the same.
yeah.
I
But
suppose that's the end goal, isn't
yeah,
it?
but then the idea is to especially as a bass player, you've got to be always thinking about highlighting the harmony, highlighting the
notes,
chords.
yeah.
So the blues. All the time, you can still hear the blues in there. Then the G, F, C, G, C,
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've got the changes going on in your mind, and you're trying to find fundamentals, third,
Yeah.
the fifth, or the roots
Yeah.
in those to just highlight the fact that the changes are still going, and so we're not. There's no tritones. We're not getting advanced at all.
Yeah.
All we're doing is outlining the harmony
Yeah.
as it goes with very simple theory. That's the idea.
That's really interesting, yeah. So I think you can just really learn a lot from just bouncing onto the third in each chord.
Yeah, exactly.
And the fifth.
Fifth in each chord, yeah.
The flat seven begins to feel more outside, but kind of works.
Yeah,
and
it
seven
works,
becomes
especially
three,
on
and-
especially on a turnaround. Flat seven
Yeah.
is great when you come to the end of the sequence. You know what I mean?
Yeah, really interesting. So, what a little bit about your right hand technique.
My right hand
Yeah,
technique.
hang on, right hand.
Yeah,
that one.
this
yeah.
one, yeah.
So when you're playing, because some bassists play with picks,
That's right, yeah.
some slap,
Yeah.
but I see you have a tendency to kind of, what's that called? Playing with your fingers, right? But
Yeah, it's a
it's
double
like the
bass.
go-to way.
Yeah, double bass technique is called pizzicato, isn't it? To play,
Yeah.
you know, when you
Okay,
pluck,
yeah.
you pluck the string. That I suppose that's what it would be. Just normal finger style. You know what I mean?
And so your thumb is always on the string below the kind of fingers that you're that you're dealing with generally.
I've got what I've developed or discovered. What we use is called a floating thumb.
Okay.
Right. So the trouble with the bass is that as you play higher, the strings vibrate on their own.
That's what I was going to lead to asking, basically.
So the floating thumb is a technique by where, and it would be easier to demonstrate this, better to demonstrate this on a 4-string bass,
okay.
but for conversation's sake, so to make sure that the camera can see me, the normal 4 strings are the ones in the middle. So I'll start with it. If I play on an E string,
Yeah.
right, my finger will hit. I'll rest my thumb on
On the pickup.
a pickup, right? So ignore this string, but that movement, just one movement, would mean that my finger would come back and rest against the thumb. When I go into the A string, I put my thumb on the E string and I play. And you can see that the E string is right. When I move on to the D string, I move my thumb onto the A, but lean back onto the E so that there's no sound.
Clean.
There's no sound escaping when I'm playing the D string. Now, when I play the G string, I can leave my fingers where they are, because the normal stroke would mean that I would deaden the D string, play the G string, but I would deaden it as a normal movement. So it's not that movement, it's a quite a big movement. You can see the D string moving, but it means that no note will escape from the D string. So when I'm playing a D string, I've got my finger on A. I've got my thumb resting back, right, on the E to cover the E, right, and then I'm playing the D string. When I play the G string, it's the same thing. Well, with a sixth string or multiple string, it's exactly the same thing. If I play an E, my finger rests on the B string. When I go across to play in A, my thumb rests on the E string, but goes back onto the B string.
Yeah.
So I've got that covered, and I keep moving the thumb.
So those two fingers basically get you around.
Yes.
Thumb and the two fingers.
Yeah. That's
all
all.
there.
Yeah, the thumb is basically used for
anchoring out.
Yeah, anchoring and dampening. Yes, yeah. You do a little bit of it with your right hand as well, by covering the notes that you're playing.
Yeah, well, that's the same for me. Absolutely, you get kind of gently touch the string above.
Yeah,
and,
But with the bass, you definitely need to move.
Yeah, it's bigger.
A bigger string, your whole practice regime then is about getting that all in time, because it's very awkward. It's quite an awkward thing to do. So it's getting yourself to a stage where it all becomes very natural. Do you know what I mean? Just moving around.
And when you practice, do you play to a metronome?
Yes,
or
always.
That's
always to a metronome. Yeah.
And you still do that to this day?
Still to this day, yeah.
That's interesting. So do you have a sort of sense of, I can do, clean 16ths at, 130 BPM, and do you think like that?
No,
is that too cerebral?
No, that's too much. What you notice is, I don't know whether you class it as biorhythms. You notice some days you can play, 16th notes, and they just run off your fingers.
Just fly. So true.
And the day after, you can't put two notes together. Do you know what I mean? It happens all the time. But you're trying to get yourself to a point by where you're not analysing what you did yesterday. You're just trying to deal with what you're dealing with today. So if you're trying to play 16th notes today and I'm not getting it, I slow down. I just slow down what I'm doing and just build it up bit by bit. And resign yourself to the fact that if you don't feel that today, you know what I mean?
I totally know what you mean. Yeah, and I've been the same. Frustrated. I could do it yesterday. It's not happening today. You have to just let that go because just whatever.
Yeah,
like.
And you can work through it. You can, but the trouble with it is it becomes mechanical. Do you know what I mean? And you can sometimes tell a mechanical player. There's don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with technique, and there's nothing wrong with developing stuff, but I think that the art of music is that it has a feel to it, as well as great technique. It has a great feeling, and sometimes you can't force that feeling. When I was younger, I wanted to have a consistent technique. That's what I was looking for. I want to be able to play to a certain standard, no matter what. Right. So you learn the touch. You learn how hard to hit the strings, how soft to hit the strings, so that you can be consistent. Do you know what I mean? You can hit the strings every day, 100 notes every day at the same consistent. Now sometimes you want to play a little bit harder, and then those notes fall off to 90 notes. You know what I mean? Sometimes you want to play quieter, and those notes increase to 110. Do you know what I mean? But you've got a marker that you know, but it's about touch. And like we just said, you do have days where it varies, where you're in your 100 zone, but you're not getting the 100 note. But don't get uptight about it. Don't judge it. Just because 90% of what you do, 100% of what you do, you'll probably only need 40% of those skills.
Yeah, this is true.
So being able to play 100% of it every day is great, but you'll only ever need 40% of it on a gig. So you're well within your ability to cover any gig that you're doing. You know what I mean? On a good day, you've got 120. You can get on a jazz gig, you can really, really float. On a bad day, you know what I mean? You're down to 30. You get on a country gig and you playing two to the bar. You're still in good shape. You know what I mean?
That's really interesting. And so maybe a couple of thoughts actually about like how our students are kind of going to get out there and get gigs and get somewhere, because you know they're in bands maybe, but got a lot that are players. They want to play. They want to get out there, and I mean, you know,
it's definitely
you've got 30-year history to go back on, but like availing yourself, you know, getting out there. What
I mean, I think these days it's harder, but then it's still the same. You've got to let people know that you exist. Okay, that's the first thing. So use whatever technology, use whatever is at your ability. In my day, in the old day, pardon me, you would go to a jam session. You'd go down, you'd go to a gig, you'd see somebody playing, a local gig, you'd see somebody playing, you'd go and have a talk to them. I play a bit of bass, you know, I like what you play, man, you know, can I come round to your house, man, and have a jam, man, you know, that kind of thing. That's what we would have done. I had a conversation, got together. That's exactly how I started. There was a trumpet player that I met, and we were just hanging on a street corner in Edgbaston in Birmingham, just talking. And it happened that his dad was a saxophone player. So one day I go round to his house to see him, to listen to we were listening to Freddie Hubbard and his dad was giving a saxophone lesson. Right. And his dad said to his son, who played piano, can you come and play a little bit of piano so that this guy can get this harmony? And the typical boring story, his dad had got a bass and an amp in the room, and you know, Graham went downstairs and played a little bit of piano, and I went and picked up a bass and just followed him, you know what I mean, like you do. And his dad said, oh, great, you know, do you play? The next thing I know, his dad gave me a gig. You know what I mean? I did a couple of little jam sessions with him. He gave me a gig. Guitar player on that gig saw me. He offered me a gig. Piano player from that gig, he gave me a residency from that. You know what I mean?
One thing leads to another.
It just all led. That's how it happened. Yeah. But you've got to you've got to get yourself out of there. Well, you know, younger people these days have got it a lot easier, but a lot harder. They've got the internet. They've got, you know, podcasts, they've got YouTube, they've got ways of getting themselves out there. So the thing about it is to try and think of something that is quite interesting. You know what I mean? I'm not saying, you know, dress up in green, you know what I mean? And but there's definitely ways to get yourself noticed. There's definitely a way of, you know what I mean, with all the skills that you have with editing and stuff like that, you know what I mean?
That's true.
There's definitely, you know, play properly, you know, don't shortcut what you play, but maybe shortcut how you present it. You know what I mean? Classy black and white footage of you playing, you know what I mean, some nice bass lines will be very attractive. You know what I mean? You know, and interesting sounds, you know, get your bass through some good filters, you know, good gear, so that it sounds really good. Look as if you're enjoying yourself, because that's the other thing. When you get the gig, the first thing to realize is that your dream in your bedroom, or your expectation of what you think it's going to be like, is going to be, you know, 80% exaggerated. Do you know what I mean? You're going to think, okay, I'm going to do a gig and, you know, I'll play two notes and it'll be the best two notes in the world and everybody will hear me. All the women will love me. All the guys, if you're a female bass player, all the guys will think that I'm the sexiest thing out there. You go to your first gig and you play, nobody can hear the notes. They can't hear what you play. You play through an amp, it sounds rubbish. Do you know what I mean? You come away. So the illusion of what you've got in your mind and the reality is quite hard. So you've got to learn to balance that. You've got to learn that if you get on a gig and you don't have the perfect sound, it doesn't stop you from playing the perfect notes, right? If you get on a gig and you can play the perfect notes, but you know you're distracted by a drummer that's playing too loud or a guitar player that's too, you know, don't be put off by those things. You know what I mean? Be nice. Be nice, be friendly, be open. Do you know what I mean? have
on time.
Be on time, but have an attitude by where those disappointments, because they are disappointing. You know what I mean? You've been practicing. You know what I mean? Your Green Day licks. You know what I mean? Or whoever it is that you're into. You've been practicing your licks. You've got them down. You've got a great bass. You've got a great bass amp. You've got a great technique. You go out on your first jam session. They call a tune that you know. You go up to play. You know what I mean? You play 2 notes. The string breaks. The amp blows up. Do you know what I mean? The fire brigade comes and calls and cancels the gig. You know what I mean? You are disappointed. You are frustrated. You know what I mean? But don't let that show with the people that are around you. Still be friendly. Still be nice. Play with a drummer that's too loud, that's been in your way all night. Don't give him a hard time. Don't block him. Just be friendly to him. At some point, he may call you for a gig. Then you can have the conversation. You know, give me a little bit of space. You know what I mean? But initially, because we live in our own world, we tend to go, oh, I hate that guy, or I hate this situation. I'm never going to do this again, and that will keep you away from gigs. So your attitude is really important. Your friendliness and the ease to get on. You know what I mean? And adjusting. The smart thing is to adjust that dream in your head. You know what I mean? Reality and dream are very far apart. But if you keep at it and you take your time, they'll line up, and then they'll take over. What you think won't happen will be amazing. You know what I mean? The dream that you thought about that seemed that like it was never going to happen will happen. You'll be on a stage in front of 25,000 people. You know what I mean? Playing, and people will be loving and they will know your name. It will happen. But it takes time, and you've got to have the right attitude. You've got to be quite, you know,
dedication.
Yeah, dedicate. And the word that we have to use very often in this day and age, which is the word humble.
Humble.
Right. Because you've got to realise that as great as you are, there's another 10 guys that are greater than you. And as rubbish as you are, there's another 10 guys that are worse than you. So it doesn't mean that you're the best in the world. It doesn't mean that you're the worst in the world. You know what I mean? The art of it is that each of us have our individual thing that we do, have something that we bring to the table. That's the conversation. What, you know what I mean? A technique that you do, something that you do that's nice, that people will like. You know what I mean? That's the goal. But, you know, it doesn't make you better than anybody else. It doesn't make you worse than anybody else. If you've got it right, it gives you a voice. It gives you an opportunity to have a conversation with other musicians if you get it right. You know what I mean? If you think that you're the best thing, and then you will then judge everything else as below you, and your attitude will be horrible, and you won't get any gig. And by the same token, if you think that everybody else is brilliant and you're rubbish, you will never flower into being because you'll be too timid and stuff like that. So it's understanding.
That balance,
right.
You've
got to get you got to get, and there's a lot of conversation these days about mental health and about how people find it hard to survive. And I think that's one of the things, is trying to look at things realistically. You're not the worst, but you're not the best. You can be very good at what you do, and just don't judge it as being anything else other than what it is. And if you are good at what you do, you can get gigs, you can earn money, you can have a nice house, you can have a nice family, you can be successful. I mean, if you have the right attitude, it's possible.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Some really good advice. Okay, maybe a final question, a thought I've had, something I'm researching and looking into, and I might be putting you on the spot. I don't know. But what are your thoughts about pocket? The notion of pocket. So if we're talking about a band that are great and they're really on it, there's that extra, just being together. The bassist, the drummer, the keys. It's not about complexity to my mind. It's just about wow. Like, if we were to analyse pocket, is that because they slowly speed up? Is that being lazy and behind the beat? I'd love to hear your thoughts about pocket.
It's pocket. It's the combination of everything. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But in reality, what is a pocket? A pocket is something that everybody can sit into. You can put things into. That's what a pocket is. And in music, it's exactly the same thing. Yeah. So your job as a bass player is to outline what's the shape of the pocket on my jeans. What is the shape? The bass gives that shape. That's the shape. The guitar is in it. You know what I mean? The keyboards are in it. You know what I mean? The singers are in it. The drums are the stitching. The drums are the thread. You know what I mean? So The bass shows the shape of the pocket, and the drums are the stitching, but the pair them together outline where that pocket is, and then you play in such a way that it's open, so that guitar players, keyboard players, singers can play in there, and you're supporting them. That's how I think about the pocket. The thing about the other side of that is the thing about groove, and this is the thing that is quite controversial. Some people think that groove is metronomic.
Yeah.
But I personally don't think that it's metronomic.
Okay.
I think it's like a train. You know what I mean? It's going on a track, so it's starting, and it's this time, and the 9:45 leaving to Houston. It's got to get to, you know what I mean, wherever it's going to get to, at whatever time it's going to get there, and it's going to do. But in the process, it will go downhill and it will go uphill. It will slow down a little bit uphill, and it will speed up a little bit. It will go around the bend. It'll go straight. I mean, it will slow and then it will speed up. But at the end of the journey, the time it left and the time it got there was what it was supposed to be. Do you know what I mean? So the groove is not about the fact that we have to play at 67 beats for 4 minutes. It's about the fact that when the guitar player is playing, sometimes you get behind him and he speeds up and you go with him and you make that exciting, and then you come out of it into the verse and you slow down a little bit. You know what I mean? Then you go downhill into the next verse, and then you go into the chorus and you're going uphill, and all that is the groove is when everybody is doing the same thing together, and the audience don't know what's going on. They just feel this sometimes exciting, and they feel tension and release of tension. You know what I mean? They're hearing things they've never heard. That's groove. So the pocket is the shape of it, and the groove is the ability to go with wherever it's going. Do you know what I mean? Keeping in mind that it had a tempo, it's got a time. It starts, it's 1:15 from Houston, and it's going to arrive at 2:50, and it can't be early there, and it can't be late. So if you slow down, you have to make up that beat, and if you speed up, you have to take away that beat. You know what I mean? So the groove is the fact that it goes uphill, comes down the hill, but it's still on the groove. Yeah.
And that involves being together, looking in each other's eyes.
Yes.
Do you feel like you could walk into a session room with total strangers and do that?
Yes. Yeah.
Because you all know.
Yeah, but the thing is,
because of years of experience.
Yeah. But it's not all of us know. Not everybody is willing. You know what I mean? One of the situations I'm involved in at the minute is that I play with a great group of musicians, but some guys are so caught up in what they're doing that they're not really listening to what's going on. So the music, in my definition, is the music sounds great because everybody's got great equipment, everybody's got great sounds and stuff like that. Yeah. It sounds great, but it doesn't feel great. And the conversation I want to have with them is that the music needs to feel better. And they're going to say to me, what do I mean? And I'm going to talk about exactly the same thing, that you need to play with a sympathy. You need to play in the pocket, in a groove that leaves room for the guitar player to play. You know what I mean? Don't, as a bass player, don't be filling every single note. You know what I mean? Don't be playing at the end of every phrase is where the drummer's going to play. You know what I mean? And as a drummer, don't be playing at every phrase is where the bass player's going to go. Try and see if there's a way that you can leave a space for somebody else to do something. Guitar players don't have to be at the head of everything and behind everything. Everybody. If music is done great, not only is it the notes you play, but it's the space between the notes that sound great. And sometimes, if those spaces between the note are really, really big and lovely, it makes what you do shine and sound even better. You know what I mean? Nice. So the art of it, the expense of it, you know what I mean? You hear it all the time. Sometimes you go and you see a band and you look at the guitar player and you go, what's he doing up there? He's not doing anything. Exactly. He's doing more than you know.
He's doing the right thing.
He's doing the right thing. He's playing for the song. And the song means, I'm going to play 3 notes here. You know what I mean? You can guarantee that for him to pass the audition, he's got to be able to play. But he's making that music feel right. Not only sound right, not only got great gear and great equipment and pedals and, lots of Strats and Les Pauls, but he's playing as much or as little as he needs to, in sympathy with the other guys, so that the music feels great. So when you sit and you listen to it, your ear's not drawn to the guitar because he's playing too much, you know what I mean, or he's not drawn to the drummer because he's not playing at all. You're listening to the whole thing and enjoying it, and then these bits jump out, solo jumps out, and you would go, oh, that's a great solo. Back to the singer singing, it's great. You enjoy a whole experience. If you get it right, that's what we should be doing. That's what we should be aiming for, it to be great, and then little bits come out, as opposed to always hearing guitar players and other instruments. That's, you know what I mean. I'm sorry, you're
really
a guitar player.
interesting.
Yeah.
No. I quite agree. Yeah, that's fantastic. Awesome. Thank you, Roger. So maybe just before we sign off, what should bassists be practicing? What should they be practicing?
Well, we just.
Yeah, I mean, we've said, haven't we? I suppose. But
yeah, I mean,
any handy tips?
time. I mean, you know, I said that I'm practicing with a metronome.
Yeah.
The reason for practicing with a metronome is so that you have a good eternal clock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that you can tell when guys are speeding up and when guys are slowing down. I mean, you can, so that you've got a good way of knowing, assessing what's going on around you. Sometimes, and I've had it in the studio, the guys say to me, can you just play behind the beat a little bit? The metronome is still there, but the note that I play is a longer note, and it feels different. Be able to have that conversation, you've got to have a good sense of time. To have a good sense of time, you've got to play with a metronome so that you know what it's supposed to be, so that you can play in front of it. If you need to be excited, I can play in front of a beat and make the bass line sound excited. I can play behind it and make it sound relaxed, but it's not slower and it's not any faster. It's still on time. It's still the groove, you know what I mean? So practicing is that thing, and learning the advantages of different lengths of note. You know what I mean? A quarter note, crotchet as we say in this, is this long, but sometimes the note can be a little bit longer, and sometimes a crotchet can be a little bit shorter. Sometimes playing two crotchets short at the beginning of a phrase and then two long crotchets will give the music such a different energy. There's still quarter notes.
Solid gold right there.
Yeah, there's still quarter notes. You know what I mean? But knowing the length of the note, knowing when to pull, you know, come off the note, when to let the note, when to let a note ring, you know what I mean? When to play very pizzicato and when to play very legato, you know, all those kind of qualities. So as a bass player, if I was sitting and practicing, that's what I would want in my back pocket, because, you know, you tend to think of all the flashy things as being great bass playing, but all the guys are in the studios who have big houses, who have lots of money and big cars, are the guys who make records, and the guys who make records know how to make the music that they're playing sound and feel great. So the audience listens to something that even 9 times 10 they don't even know that they're listening to a great bass line. They just enjoying this music. They're gonna buy it and you're gonna get paid. I mean, that's the thing.
Awesome. Thank you, Roger. What can I say? It's been great. Tune in next time.
Yeah, we'll see you.
Safe journey. Thanks.
Great.
For being
Thank
here.
you very much
Awesome.
for having me. Yeah.
Wonderful.
I hope it made sense to you guys. Thanks for having me. All the best. Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers. What should we play?
That same little riff that you had before.
Yeah.